to talk today, role on the future, research and testing to bring the safest tire. My name is Nathan Bañeres. I am the General Manager of Barcelona Tire Company, and today we are going to talk about how to develop a safe tire for an ever demanding market. First of all, let me introduce you to what is Membat. We are a young and dynamic company established in Barcelona. As we can see here, we have over 50 years experience in tires combined. Also, we have a fast-growing figures. We are a fast-developing company. We are customers right now in 22 different countries, so we are reaching more and more areas around the world. What makes us different as a company? There's many tire companies. What makes us different? Well, as we can see here, we have our headquarters in Barcelona, where we control all the business procedures, where we do all the financing, all the marketing, etc., etc. We have a product designed and engineered in Barcelona. We have genuine molds and unique molds, which we can transmit to our customers. We have a representative office in Singapore. We forgot about this before. That's quite important for us. And we are a company which is being defined by the criteria we can see here, by professionalism, rigor with timings, marketing tools. We have seen that there is huge opportunities in the tire sector. Today we are going to talk about some of them. As we said before, let's have a general outlook, very brief, on what we see in the tire business coming up for the next years. Number one, the worldwide tire market has reached $275 billion turnover during 2016. That's quite of an impressive figure if you think about it. At the same time, we see that this figure is growing, and in the next 3 years, we see an expected growth of 12% in the Asia-Pacific, in the worldwide market. Actually, tire volume is expected to reach, as it says here, 2.5 billion units by 2020. That's a lot. And this growth is going to be focused, a big part of it, here in the Asia-Pacific segment, in the Asia-Pacific area of the world. So in other words, we see a growing market and we see a growing area. We see a lot of potential here. Some of the factors which will define this growth, as we can see here, are increasing automobile production, expansion of commercial fleets, growing per capita income, etc., etc., etc. Those factors, they define us a growing segment, a growing business in a growing area. This is the outlook that we see. Which opportunities do we see here? Well, this is just, we see a list here of 5 or 6 countries which are expected to grow significantly in the next years. How many markets can you find with 15-17% growth expected over the next 3 years period? Not many. So we see that there is opportunities here. The question now is, how are we going to satisfy those opportunities? How are we going to meet those opportunities in the market? We see that our consumer needs the best value for what they are paying. They need the best value. This means a safe and performing tire without compromising safety. It's very important for us to deliver a high quality product to all our customers. This means that also we have to follow the product trend lines. For instance, we see the growing ADW market and SUV markets. Some time ago, 3 or 4 years ago, none of them will be talking about dry performance, dry and wet grip, driving performance, fuel consumption, etc., etc. Those aspects are now are becoming more and more important for the consumer in those growing segments. Therefore, bearing this in mind, it brings us to the point that we need to invest more and more in research and development. This is a growing feature of our company. Investing in research and development means something more than just having a nice label on the sidewall of the tire where we define how good we are in 3 or 4 aspects, as we do with the European label in Europe. It means testing the tire extensively, up to 50 different aspects when we do so, to get to know where we stand, how we can compare ourselves with our competitors, and how can we further develop the product in order to meet our consumers' needs. Tire testing brings me to the next part of our presentation, to Mr. Andre Moritz, where he will explain us a little bit more about this and how we can implement this into Tyres. Let's welcome Mr. Moritz.
Well, welcome everybody. As Nathan just said, my name is Andre Moritz. I'm a tire engineer with over 25 years of experience in tire business. And today I would like to talk with you about testing in general and why testing is so important. Well, first of all, to know where your product stands in the market, you have to test. And you have to do that against competitors, just to see where you are right now. And on top of that, even more important is, for future developments, you need to know where you stand and which properties of the tire maybe need improvement. And as a third point, of course, the test results help you to show possible future customers, to explain to them where the quality of the product is and which results they can expect from the product. Now, some years ago in Europe, the label is introduced. And this label is a very nice one. But unfortunately, only 3 properties of the tire are ranked on that label: rolling resistance, wet grip, and tire noise. All of them are important, but it's just part of the whole thing. And in Membat, we decided that this is good, but it's not good enough. So we wanted to do more than that. Now, when we started talking about tire testing, we first had to make a few choices and decisions. And number one was, of course, which tire size would we like to test? In the end, we decided to test one of our summer tires, the Membat Passion in the size 205/55/16, a V-rated summer tire, just a nice example, quite representative for the whole range of tires we have. And we decided to test this tire against three competitors from the B segment, so quite good competitors. One brand from Germany, one brand from Asia, and one from Japan. All right. The next thing we had to decide is which agency would we like to test with, because there are plenty of them. And in the end, we decided to do the testing together with a German company called TÜV Süd, located close to Munich. And the decision to do the work with them is that they have a very big automotive department within their testing agency. And within that, they are very experienced in tire testing, in all kinds of tire testing. They have all the equipments they need for indoor and outdoor. And of course, they have the engineers who know how to do the job. And they are also very experienced with all kinds of brands. Well, as I said, on the tire label we just have 3 aspects, but on this sheet you can see we did a whole lot of different kinds of tests, starting from aquaplaning, which of course is important in case of a lot of water on the road. Next we do 2 wet grip tests, a braking test and a lateral wet grip test we call it. It's done in a, let's say, in a wet corner. Then we did 2 dry tests, a braking test again and a handling test. We have done the noise test, a rolling resistance test, and 2 kinds of high-speed durability tests. Now, behind 3 of these tests you see a green hook, and these are the tests I would like to go a little bit deeper into with you. This is the official test result sheet we got from TÜV Süd after the testing, and you can see it's a lot of data, a lot of figures, and the result of all this can be found on this sheet. The total performance of our tire was 97% of the average of the 3 competitors we have chosen, and I think from the technical side, that's a very good result. Even better, we finally is, you can see that one over here. For the experts here in the audience, you can see a wet grip index of 1.54 is a B grade on the European sticker labeling system. If it would have been 1.55, it would have been an A grade. So we are very close with this tire to having a real A grade. And that is outstanding, I would say. But even with the real honest B grade we have, we are on the same level as some of the premium brands you can see here on the screen. So even that is, I think, a perfect example of the performance of our tire in wet conditions. The next test is the dry handling test. And as before, this is the original test sheet. You can see it looks even more complicated and more complex than the sheet regarding the wet grip testing. In total, 11 different parameters were tested here. 11 different handling properties. And the total result was that the Membat tire scored 100% of the performance of the 3 B segment competitors. So from that point of view, like on wet, on dry, perfect result. The TÜV engineers, they told us that they were especially pleased with the small steering angles that were needed when cornering the car, so the car is reacting very precise. The cornering performance in general was mentioned to be very good. And the balance between the front and the rear axle of the car was also very well balanced, which means the car doesn't have any tendency for understeer or oversteer. So a very neutral behavior of the car. Very good. Finally, the high-speed durability test. Well, this test is an indoor test. That means it's not done on the road, but it's done on a drum, on the machine. And this test is normally run within 1 hour. So the speed is increased, up to the maximum speed of the tire, and after 1 hour, the tire should not show any defects. Normally this test is done at 25 degrees temperature, and that's where we started with, and I can tell you, after 1 hour, all 4 brands were perfect, so nothing wrong with that. So we decided we will continue. And we will repeat the test at higher temperature. We switched to 38 degrees. And this is for the tire a much more severe test. And I can tell you that even after 1 hour at 38 degrees, still all tires were perfectly intact. At that point, we said we will extend the test because we want to see some kind of defect showing up. So we added 1 more hour at maximum speed. And to make it even more severe, we added 2-degree camber to the tire testing. Up to now it was 0 degrees, now we add 2-degree camber, which makes it even harder for the tire on the inside shoulder to pass.
The product demonstration by
The result was
will be taking place in 15 minutes time. Please proceed to the Garage Expo Technical Workshop B at Hall 1 for the session. The product demonstration by Tech International will be taking place in 15 minutes time. Please proceed to booth 1 and 2-6 for the session. Thank you.
all right. The final result after another hour at hardest conditions was that 2 brands plus Membat still had no defects at all, but the Japanese competitor, unfortunately, after 52 minutes, failed. So probably we reached the limit, the performance limit of the first tires at this point. But overall, the result, I think, is very good. So even at high temperatures, nothing's wrong. This means, as an overall review, that in wet conditions, in dry conditions, and at high-speed conditions, at high temperatures, the Membat tire showed a very good result. And we are very satisfied with this. And don't forget this, we tested against B segment brands, not economy or budget tires. Yeah? So we put the limit quite high. It's still a nice result. So this means for the consumer, a good quality product at a very competitive price. And that's what we wanted. Now I would like to start the video.
TÜV offers, besides type approval and certification tests, as well internal development and researching tests to feedback an independent result.
I think most important feature when making good tires for passenger cars nowadays is the performance under wet conditions. And that's what we tried. And besides that, we also wanted to make a tire with a very low rolling noise.
All tests have been executed according to our strong internal regulations and test procedures in that case. These test procedures are based on official regulations and as well on the state of the art regarding testing in the industry. At these tests we performed several criteria like aquaplaning in longitudinal direction, braking on wet surface, braking on dry surface, handling on dry surface. Then we go to the laboratory, we perform the rolling resistance tests and then high-speed test. And last but not least, the rolling noise test.
First of all, we took 3 representative tires from the B segment as competitors. And besides that, we chose the tire size 205/55/16, and it is very suitable for testing and also representative for the whole range of tires we have in this pattern.
In this wet braking test, we are measuring the braking distance and the acceleration during braking. We are starting at above 80 km per hour and evaluate these named criteria to 20 km per hour. And this is as well a part of the tire labeling.
The Membat Passion results under wet conditions were very good. And as this is one of the hardest things to pass, we are very happy with this result.
Dry braking shall show the performance of a tire during an emergency brake. In that case, we are braking above 100 km per hour to stand still to show the braking distance and as well the acceleration during braking.
On dry braking, the Membat Passion tire also showed a very good result comparable to the best of the competitors.
The dry handling is divided into 2 parts. One is the objective part, one is the subjective part. For the objective parts we are measuring the lap time and vehicle dynamic criteria like lateral acceleration and cornering speed. On the other hand, we have the subjective evaluation where we are in a detailed way evaluate the criteria, for example for steering input and the safety at the limit in a corner, for example.
Here we see another very good result of the Membat tire. The steering response is very good, especially at small steering angles, and the tire gives a very good feedback to the driver.
The rolling noise test is as well a part of the European labeling directive. We are measuring the noise level of a free rolling tire at different speed steps.
The tire noise results were also very good. We make a tire that is on the level of the best competitors, and because of that it's a very environmental friendly tire. I'm very happy with the overall results of the tire. The tire is safe on wet conditions, the tire is quiet and is easy to drive, and that in total gives us a very good level of performance. I like working with Membat because it's a young and dynamic company, and I think with my technical background I can help this company a lot to further improve the new products to come in future.
Thank you very much, Andrea. What can we conclude after what we've been talking, after the experience that we have learned from Andrea, after the testing we have seen, after the market situation we see? Well, for a company like us, we see As we mentioned before, there is a growing market in the tire industry. There is going to be more opportunities in the Asia-Pacific area, and there's going to be growth over the next years. How can we satisfy the consumer needs in such a growing and demanding market? Well, testing and research and development is a way to match such needs with a high-quality product. The testing, as we have seen, helps us to know where we are, what the consumer needs, how can we further develop the product, how can we satisfy our goal, how can we satisfy our consumer. We see that available testing allows fair comparative as well as product development, as we mentioned. In other words, testing has been a tool for us to satisfy our consumer needs, as we mentioned at the beginning, to develop a safe tire for a more demanding market. Thank you very much for being here. If you have any more questions, we're going to be the whole day in our booth. Andrea is going to be there if you have any questions on the testing you saw. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to ask them now.